Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Cyber Essentials this morning. Who's actually heard of Cyber Essentials? Oh, that's good. That's good. There's more than I often get, because it does seem to be one of the government's best kept secrets. So, what Cyber Essentials is a government-backed program that's designed to help small to medium businesses prove a basic level of cyber security. There's a number of reasons that you might want to do that. In fitting with our motto of making IT stress-free, obviously not getting infected by viruses, not getting attacked by hackers, etc., does an awful lot to lower your stress levels. But other reasons that you may want to do it are to prove the fact that you take your customers' security seriously. I know for a fact that one financial advice company, St James Place, have actually been pushing all of their advisors to get certified under Cyber Essentials, as a way of proving that they take their customers' information seriously. Other reasons that you might want to do it. More and more, it's becoming the case that if you want to bid for central government contracts, you will need to be Cyber Essentials certified. That is starting now to come down into local government organisations and organisations such as the NHS. And the other, possibly even more important incentive, is that you can actually get free cyber security insurance if you're certified, up to the value of about 50k at the last count, although that amount does seem to change on a fairly regular basis. So, what's actually involved in it? There's two levels of Cyber Essentials. One is basically self-certified, so you have to go through and answer a series of questions on a questionnaire, and that may sound easy, but you've really actually got to know what you're doing. I mean, if I actually just read you one of the questions from the current version of Cyber Essentials. Have you ensured that all your laptops, computers, servers, tablets, mobile devices and cloud services only contain necessary user accounts that are regularly used in the course of your business? So, there's a certain amount of gobbledygook involved in here, as there often is with IT. So you really need to know what you're doing with it. But there's some interesting requirements in there. So particularly around the way you manage passwords, the way you manage software on laptops. There's a requirement to be able to vouch for all of the software that you have installed on a laptop. So actually, you can't really just go and install what you like anymore. You've got to really have a good business justification for doing it. Other things that are included in there are the quality of passwords, having firewalls at the perimeter of the network. I imagine a lot of us work from home at some point or another. That little router that your internet service provider gave you, possibly free of charge as part of the service, is not a firewall. So how are you actually securing things? Moving on from there, there's Cyber Essentials Plus. This is more or less the same thing, only this time you actually get a third-party auditor visit you to vouch for what you're doing. So you've actually had a third party come in and say, well, actually, this is what, we have certified that you are doing what you say you are doing. So again, providing that extra level of assurance. So how do you actually go about getting it? Well, there's any number of ways of doing this, and you can actually expend an awful lot of money doing so. We actually do this, as you may expect. We use a bit of software called CyberSmart, which is an assurance system. What this does is that it continuously monitors you to make sure that you're compliant. Cyber Essentials itself is a little bit like an MOT on a car. All you're actually saying is that on the day that you submitted the questionnaire, or on the day that the auditor visited you, you met those requirements. It doesn't do anything to make sure that you carry on meeting those requirements. So that's where we differ by using CyberSmart. We carry on monitoring. So if you were to accidentally do something that compromised your Cyber Essentials status, we can alert you to it long ahead of you needing to recertify 12 months later, and then suddenly have a problem. So again, building on that idea of it being stress-free. Okay, so I think I've spoken for about 7 minutes there. Any questions?
I think,
yes,
sorry.
You, Heather.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting, and it moves so fast. There are so many hackers and scammers and, really smart people who, it's almost like we're chasing up the rear.
Yes.
We need to jump to be one step ahead of them, not one step behind them. But then, yeah, so it's
well,
important.
I mean, it's the thing that's actually getting interesting is just getting easier and easier to do. One of the things I actually tried doing was getting ChatGPT to write me a script to hack a particular bit of software, and it obliged.
Mm. Yeah,
you didn't need to know what you were actually doing beyond the name of the piece of software.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that your router often doesn't include your security, your firewall or whatever it was. Yeah, that's something that I'm proud to say ours does, and it's supported.
Well, I mean, again, you have to be a little bit careful with them. One of the I have to say, I've not looked recently, but BT at one point actually had all of their firewalls remotely accessible, so they could actually access it, and then they were compromised. So
don't use BT routers.
Well, of course you don't. No, I've probably got one of yours actually.
Yeah.
That I'm using at home. But,
and actually, what we do now, or what the very best, is to actually turn off your router facility on your router. Use it only as a modem.
Yeah.
Link to Eero units, which have got their own security additionally in them.
Yes.
It's fabulous. Yeah.
I mean, that's that is a case of every little helps, but say in general, the sort of thing that you're getting as part of your broadband service, those things cost about £5 to manufacture. So they're not, they're really not going to be a highly secure device on the whole. And various network providers have had issues over the years. Virgin Media had a problem with their devices at one point, that they could actually be taken over and used to attack external servers. The same has actually happened with internet CCTV cameras in the past as well. So it's anything that connects to the internet, not necessarily just your laptop or just your mobile phone.
Yes, Yanis.
Just it's funny you mentioned earlier about sites. I've got a laptop here that I purely use for, I guess I shouldn't say it, but pirating stuff. I mean, there's a lot of football that you don't get all the football matches over here, but you can find them online. Now that one, I mean, I get multiple pop-ups on that, even though I'm using VPN. Where when you're first trying to log into a match, you get stuff popping up all over the place, and I mean, I literally just use that for that. But it's been infected a couple of times just from those.
Yes.
Literally, it just takes control, and you're trying to close it. And every time you click on it, it goes off. So I've found myself having to wipe it and start again a few times.
Oh yeah, I mean my my dad does that on a regular basis.
You can get caught in a bit of a loop with them as well, can't you? So it's a bit but even innocently, I mean, you can, like you said, you can click on something and you get these multiple and they're just impossible to stop, aren't they? If you're really unlucky, it'll infect you.
Oh yes. And if you're a reasonable sized organization, these things can actually spread over your own infrastructure. One of the worst I have ever seen was an FE college down south, and it destroyed everything to the point where we were having to recover from backups.
Yeah, if you're using something you rely on, you're a bit screwed, aren't you?
Yeah.
And Lee, how long does this certification last for, and how often?
It's 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah.
And what is there any drawbacks to having Cyber Essentials certification, or is it things that we need to be aware of?
I mean, not as far as I can see. I mean, it possibly does make your life a little bit more awkward than perhaps you'd like it to be, because I mean, one of the things that's actually just come into the Cyber Essentials standard is using two-factor authentication. So they now actually insist on any cloud services you actually using two-factor authentication. So I mean, that's essentially where you have to enter a username, a password, and then you either use an app on your phone to authorize that, or to get a code, or they text you a code to your mobile phone. So now they're actually insisting on that for access to all cloud-based services.
Very interesting.
See that being a complete pain in the backside, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm one of these people who use a password manager on my laptop, because I do have a different randomly generated password for everything. So, at least that way, it will actually take me through the username and password bit based on the information that I've got stored. But then I often have to get a code off my phone. But there you go. I'd rather be secure than it be totally convenient.
So would this certificate then pass us being compliant then with GDPR, for example? No.
There is it's a good starting point for GDPR. Everything that's included within Cyber Essentials is also covered by GDPR. But GDPR, you have to think a little bit more about what data you're holding and where you're holding it. Whereas Cyber Essentials is more sort of a blanket approach to it.
Yes, sorry, Alice, I hijacked you there. But
no,
yes,
it's all right. Can I just say, sort of to John and Lee, I don't really know what goes on security-wise with our website, but when you build a website, does that have an element of security built into it when you build them now? John and Lee?
I'll take that one, Lee.
Yeah.
Should do, yeah. Where if you've got a flat HTML website that isn't doing anything clever, then arguably you need absolutely nothing. As soon as you start adding what most of us have, which is a content management system that uses a database and uses forms of some description to fill that database. So if you're logged into your admin, you are using forms to fill in stuff that then gets saved in the database and then it outputs your site. As soon as you've got all that malarkey going on, then there's a number of different attacks that could be made on your website. And if somebody's attacking your website, what they're probably trying to do is break into your website so they can stick some shit on your website that somebody will download, thus to access their computer. So the website is basically a very good delivery system for viruses to attack your computer. If you've got a WordPress website, that's about the worst thing you can do. I know I'm biased. It's absolutely fine. If you've got a WordPress website, make sure whoever your developer is constantly updates it to the most recent version of WordPress. They come out very, very regularly because every hacker in the world loves hacking WordPress, and old copies of WordPress are extremely insecure. You need to kind of balance that. I always use a rule of thumb is, do the hackers give enough of a shit about you to hack your site? You will find you can have a very, very old WordPress website and nothing happens for years because the hackers just simply don't know about you. You can be a victim of your own success. The easier you are found in Google, the higher your chances of being hacked, because if users can find you, hackers can find you. So the simple answer is yes. And the solution is keep your website updated to the latest version of whatever the software is at all times.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. You know, I mean, I would add there, you know, I look after a number of WordPress websites for people, and you know, the number of times that you'll find plugins on there that haven't been updated, or the WordPress version hasn't been updated, or it's running an old version of the underlying language PHP. You know, I've often found that you know, even if they're charging for hosting, an awful lot of WordPress web developers out there are perfectly happy to leave things as they are at the point where they think they've finished the website.
And I'll just say, I do this sort of thing as well. I'm not supposed to talk about websites, but if I charge for maintenance, then everything gets updated every month, or sometimes more frequently than every month. The only time I ever leave it, like Lee's just described, is if they're not paying for maintenance, in which case, Sodom, because I warned.
Yes, I mean, there are actually a number of gotchas there. I had one last year where somehow or other the developer had managed to set it not to update WordPress, but to update all of the plugins, which was, you know, it was working up to a point until one of the plugins decided that it wasn't compatible with the version of WordPress that was there and crashed everything.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Lee.
Ask one last question.
Yes.
Does it cost anything to get Cyber Essentials certified?
Yeah, it varies. It's a couple of £100,
Right,
roughly. But as I say, you get free insurance included in that. I'm just going to actually have a look at the. Sorry, it's £25,000 worth of cyber insurance that you get as part of that.
That's a renewing 200.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of cover. What does it actually cover? The 25 grand. What's it? What?
I mean, it's basically covering you against security breaches and the costs associated with them.
So would the cost run as high as that if you got?
I mean, easily. You know, you know, let's, you know, this college as an example. I mean, it cost them about £50,000-60,000 to recover that, as I remember.
Wow.
I mean, you know, that's an example of a big organisation, but you know, when you think that on average it's perhaps going to cost around about £100 to £200 to repair the damage on a single device, you know, it adds up quickly.
Wow, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. All right.